KPFB LP 98.1 FM presents Changing the Planet One Mind at a Time, PM with your host, Gail Gia.
Change the world one mind at a time. One mind at a time.
Good afternoon. This is Gail of Gaia, and we are here today with Dr. Glenn, and we have a new guest calling in today, Mr. Ken Dost, and we will be going down into an area that neither Dr. Glenn or I are particularly familiar with, but Ken has some very interesting information that he will share with us, and he will be talking about trademarks, copyrights, and identity theft, and mortgages, and how mortgages are not exactly what most people think they are. So that was one of the reasons I decided to have Ken on, so that we could find out more information about that, because I'm sure you have a friend or know of someone, or perhaps even yourself, something about the possibility how you can get behind and you can lose your home and all those kinds of things. So we're hoping that maybe he can provide us with some information that will help you in that area. So we're just waiting for him to call in right now. And I got a message from him saying that he'd be calling in another minute or two. So we have something that we can talk about in a minute or two. We were going to talk about some other, health-related topics today, but when Ken offered to be on the show, I thought I would invite him on, because I'm always interested in information that's new and different that people don't know about.
It's nice to throw a curveball in once in a
yeah,
while.
that's exactly what this is. This is a curveball, believe me. And he's definitely the expert, because I'm going, oh, really? I didn't know that. And so I hope he calls in here pretty soon, because I'm running out of things to say.
Yeah, you might be hearing a lot of hms and ahs and
yes,
reallys today.
Wow, are you kidding me? So
can that possibly be true?
Definitely.
Oh,
there he is. I
He's
hear the
calling
phone
now.
ringing.
There, we're on.
Are you there, Ken?
I'm here. How you doing? Sorry about that.
That's okay. I was trying to fill up the time so you can little things, but
I got in the shower a little late, and I thought, oh, this feels so good.
Okay.
Well, good. At least you smell good for us.
As if we can smell it from here.
Yeah, it's smell radio.
It emanates quite nicely now. It doesn't smell like, what the hell is that?
Well, Dr. Glenn is my co-host, and we're here, and we're really fascinated with what you plan to talk about, because neither of us know very much about any of this. But I think it's wonderful to share with people, because we all have heard of someone that's either losing their home or something of that nature. And we're going to give you the floor, Ken, because we're kind of don't know where to go with this.
Don't even know what kind of questions they ask. So hopefully you've already done this before, and you sort of have a syllabus to go by.
Yeah, I'm kind of like, just wind me up and let me go. But
perfect. Well, hey.
Well, let me wind you up.
Yeah, let's see. We'll be back in an hour. You just take over. We're gonna go grab something to eat.
No, don't do that, because you got to slow me down if I start going to hyperspeed. So slow it down, Ken. Pull back.
You're going too fast. We can't understand you.
Yes, that is one problem I do have. I tend to go too fast. So pull me back if I'm going off, or going too fast, or
that's a mind working faster than the mouth.
Yeah.
I know that.
Well, you know what? If my mind went as fast as my mouth, I don't think anybody would understand.
I can actually relate to that sometimes, to tell you the truth.
And marijuana does not help, let me tell you. It doesn't slow down the mind. Not my case. So anyhow.
Okay. Well, where should we start, Ken?
Well, you know what? I was thinking about this. What's the best thing to talk about, and where to begin with this? And what I think we need to start doing is we need to start laying a platform of understanding, because we're going off in so many different directions here. A lot of people have a lot of ideas about what the magic sauce is, or what the secret formula is, and they're putting it out there, they're selling it, and it's fine if these things stick, but the problem is that they're sticking 1 or 2 times only, and then they stop working. Or either that or worse, what happens is people start getting thrown in jail. So now the ideas that people are putting out there, they're going along. It's along the right path, and I'm talking about issues of UCC1, bonds, of all these things with Treasury. The 1099 process is probably the most of all the processes that I would kind of recommend or say that is the most safest route to go at this point in time until a layer of knowledge is more firmly in place, is a 1099 process. That's very solid. You can't really get in too much trouble with that. You can get notices back from the IRS saying it's frivolous, and there's a reason. We'll get into that. There's a reason why people are getting those kind of responses. But I think that this is a battle we can win. This is a war we can win. We can most definitely win. And the reason for it is because for the first time in history, I mean, really, we do stand at a pivotal point here in history because we can identify for centuries. We've been getting screwed by the bankers and the merchants and all these things have been going on.
They've always funded both sides.
Pin it down. Pardon me?
I said they've always funded both sides because no matter who wins the war, they still win.
Right. Exactly. But we've never really been able to pin down. We know the characters involved, but we don't know their agents too well. And we don't know all the secret formulas that they enact. And really, for the first time in history, we've got a real good opportunity here to call these guys to the carpet, because everything that they've done, all their despicable crimes, are well described in their own words and recorded with the United States Patents and Trademarks Office on both sides, the patent side and the trademark side, which of course spills over into the World Intellectual Property Organization, which is WIPO. Now, a lot of people think, okay, what the hell is he talking about? My God, it's stuff's over my head.
Exactly.
It's not over your... It's not, though. It doesn't have to be over anybody's head. The thing that people have to realize, and this is what I tell people when I talk to them a lot of times, they say, well, I'm confused, I don't get this. And they keep going back to the court and say, well, I'm trying to do this in the court, I'm trying to do that in the court. It's like, whoa, stop. I appreciate, and because I've been there, I appreciate the fear.
Nothing happens.
I appreciate the frustration. I appreciate the anxiety of trying to grind through a motion or a response to a summary judgment and getting it in on time the following day. I empathize with people on that. I get that. I know how that feels. But that's their power. That's the power they have over us. The power that they have over us, understand this, the power that they have over us is a deception. Is this misinformation and this their platform deception, which is that we're dealing with a mortgage loan and that they have all the power in the world to do anything they want to us, and obviously they're doing that. So how do we turn the tide on that? Well, we don't turn the tide on it by continuing to fight in the courts. It's a useless battle, and they want us to do that. We're spinning our wheels by doing that. So what I try to tell people is, listen. You have to kind of admit to yourself, and you really have to do this. You have to kind of look in the mirror and you kind of come to a realization that, wait a second here, everything that I thought was true is turning out to be a lie, and in fact it is a lie, and you got to accept that. You have to accept those things. You got to look and you got to deal with it. It's an emotional thing that you have to deal with. And for some people, it's difficult to do because it's hard to divorce themselves from that. But on the other hand, it's easier for some people because what's the one thing that drives us angry, that gets us angry the most? Being lied to, right? And so we've got to divorce ourselves from what we thought was the truth, and realize that no, that's a lie. And then we got to push all that aside, and we got to say, okay, well, what is the truth now? So you start from scratch. And when you start from scratch and you get rid of all these preconceived notions and all this noise that's floating out there, things start to become clearer. And so what are we dealing with here? What we're dealing with here is we're dealing with the theft of identity. We're dealing with the theft of we're dealing with information platforms that are moving around information by encoded means and a language that none of us are really too familiar with, which is various coded languages and computer language and things of that nature. We're going through, and I appreciate the etymologies, and I appreciate the the breaking apart of words. And I certainly do not deny that they've bastardized the words and words have different meanings.
Dog Latin.
Yeah. I mean, I don't deny that at all, and that's not what I'm saying. And I'm not denying that. I'm not saying don't give any mind to it. All I'm saying is you got to give mind that there's things going on here that are, and don't take us the wrong way, because I don't mean it this way, that are above our level of knowledge and sophistication.
Well, yeah, the legal definition of words are very specific, and Clinton was a good example of that. Though it depends on the definition of how did he put that? Definition of what is.
Yes.
And binary code, who can read that?
Yeah. So,
right. Well, exactly, and that's what we're dealing with here. What we're dealing with is the theft of a person's handwritten signature put onto a document that of course, is adjacent to our all-caps name, the legal fiction, which is really an accommodating party, and the theft of that. And from that, they have taken that and they've converted that into an electronic / digital signature, what's known as a cryptographic public and private key. And through that, they've been able to run wild with us because we are and this is another thing people have to realize. At the turn of the century here, there's a coup d'etat. I mean, if anybody really thinks that there's a United States, that there really, from my view, there really isn't. we are already in the one world order. We're already there.
Yes.
We're one step short of making it complete.
Some of us are aware of that, but many aren't.
No, many aren't. And we're one step short of being a complete world order. And if Trump goes ahead and does the breaking up of big banks, then we're really, truly screwed. Then we got some big problems because that's full privatization, and that's the full new world order. So we have a great opportunity here to head it off at the pass, and we have to do it. We have to do it. And these aren't things that are difficult. I mean, it's difficult to kind of wrap your head around. Breaking it down to the most simplest components, though, is relatively easy to understand. And I use this analogy, and I've sent this analogy off to fiscal services and IRS and sent off to many agencies. And it's an analogy, and it's a common law analogy. And basically, it goes something like this: you stole my pig. I had a prize-winning pig, and you stole it from me with the belief that I was getting some kind of loan back so that I could build a better home for my prize-winning pig. But I didn't get that. What you did is you stole my prize-winning pig. You sold it off to half a dozen other people for a future purchase. You sliced and diced it. You sold off its DNA. You sold off its breeding rights, and you insured the hell out of it. You insured the hell out of my prize-winning pig behind my back without my knowing of it whatsoever. So you've taken the profits and earnings from something that I owned and turned them into your corporate equity. And then what you did is you had servicers come in, people called loan servicers, like Aquin, Litton, Seabass, Nation Star, and you started to poison my pig, to slowly kill it off. And the goal of that, and the reason why you had to do that, was because you sliced me up into so many different slices. You fractionalized my pig. You cut up in 10 different slices. Well, if you sell my pig in 10 different slices to 10 different people, but each one of those is expecting to take delivery of a whole living pig, then there's a problem there, big problem. So that's the reason why my pig. That's why these guys poisoned my pig. And in the process of doing that, they know my pig's going to die, and because everything's a future transaction, because nobody's going to take delivery at the present day. When I sat down and I signed a contract, there's no delivery. It's a future delivery. Although I believe it's a present day delivery, like a loan, but it's not. So because of that, when they poison my pig, they insure it. They insure it with everybody in the county, in the state, the world. Every insurance policy they could possibly get on the death of my pig and the death of me. And of course, I die. My pig dies. And when to cover their crimes, I bear all the brunt and liability of their pig, of my pig being dead, as being my fault, while they exit out the back door with the millions and millions of dollars that they earned off of my pig that they stole and killed. So that's kind of an analogy that I use to describe what's going on here. That makes sense?
I'm
it's
assuming,
a lot to digest.
Yes, it is. Is the pig representing our name?
Well, yes, the picks represent my name. It's represent my identity.
I
It's
get it.
representing who I am, and it's also understanding. It's coming to the understanding that my whole being is worth just as much cut in slices as it is as the whole person. So, in other words, if I'm valued, let's say I have a value of $1 million. Well, if I've been sliced up 10 times and sold off 10 times, and each of those 10 times I'm valued at $1 million. Well, I'm pretty damn valuable now, aren't I? I'm worth $10 million. But they sell it for more than that. They sell it for 5, 6 times the cost. And now all of a sudden, I'm worth hundreds of millions of dollars or tens of millions of dollars. Okay, so the incentive here is to set people up because what's operating behind the scenes is a valuation of my signature, is a valuation of my being, my life. And what's the valuation of my life? Is how long am I going to live? You know, how long am I going to live, and what's the benefits of when I die? So what they're doing is they set people up into these supposed mortgage loans on a lie and a deception. That's really just a lease transaction. It's a rental agreement, and with the idea that you have agreed to repurchase back that principal amount at some future point in time, and that's what a default is. A default, when they haul people in the court, a default is really you're not buying back the principal amount, which is really kind of bullshit anyhow, because you're the one that lent them the asset to begin with. But that goes off into other issues. But for this purpose, so because there's no present day actual transaction, what they've done is they devised a system here to insure the hell out of every transaction for the day that it eventually defaults, which is what they trigger.
Oh my God.
That makes sense.
Yes, but what about somebody that doesn't have a mortgage? Does that apply in other areas? Because I'm sure it does.
Yeah, it applies in everything. I mean, this is taken to the entire economy. This applies to Fannie Mae, Sallie Mae,
Student
medical,
loans. Yeah.
medical, CPS. It applies to everything. What we're dealing with here is we're dealing with the theft of identity and the valuing of information, and that information, of course, being virtual world scenarios. Virtual world scenarios for, say, a hedge fund. How a hedge fund's going to play out over the next 4 or 5 years. So it's a fixed gambling scheme. Everything's fixed. It's all fixed. So what happens here is our identity serves as the grantor to the banks. I mean, all the banks and anybody else who's in the know on these matters and understands patents and how the banking system actually works, can put us into a customer list and sell us into one of these financial patents, earning patents, hedge fund, mutual funds, what have you, and take all the profits from that without us getting any of the profits. Now, that's kind of BS, because what they've done is they're in common law and in law, they're intentionally trespassing upon our property. And what is our property? Our property is our identity. We own that. When people sit there and say, and this is what people have to get through their mind. They got to get through their mind. And the people that are preaching this, please stop preaching it. When people say that it's their identity, it's not ours, they own it, not us. No, that's not true. That's not true at all. It's your identity. The question is, are you going to come forward and seize control of that identity?
How do we do that?
Well, these are the things that they're working on right now. That I'm solidifying through various agencies, and it's going pretty well through Fiscal Services, IRS, through SEC, through Customs and Border Protection. So here's the thing. These agencies that everybody says, the crooked alphabet agencies.
Yeah.
We have to step back, and we have to do this. We got to do this. We have to. If we're ever going to extricate ourselves from this, we have to do this. We have to step out of ourselves, and we got to step away from all the noise, and we've got to take some time and kind of to focus on where we need to focus. Where's the root hub of this? What's the root cause of this? Okay, well, the root cause of this is copyright. It's our identity. That's the root cause. That's the basement floor. And if we do that, and we focus on this one aspect here, and take all the knowledge and emanates from out from under that, they can't win, because there's nowhere for these guys to run. It doesn't go anywhere else. There's no other scheme that they can come up with to deceive us. They can't. They've got nowhere to run. And why? Because they already detailed it all out in the public record.
So this can be de facto proved, so to speak?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. We can crush these guys. We can crush these people. We can crush the bar with the federal government. We need the federal government to crush these guys. But we have to understand how states work and how the federal government works. And we've got to understand that the states have powers. And the federal government can't step on those powers unless they have overwhelming reason to step on those powers. And so we can give them that now. We can give them that because we can go into now. Right now, as it stands now, and this goes back to life-death issues, birth certificate issues, which I really don't like saying life and death because that's really not what we're dealing with here. Because we are living, and we're seen as living. We're not seen as being dead. We're seen as being incompetent. There's a difference between being dead and incompetent. Okay, so when we make a conversion, as I call it, through Treasury, what we're doing is we're coming forward as a living man, as a living woman, as a natural person, as a natural-born citizen, and we're saying, hey, I'm here. I'm a live person here. I own this. This is my bond here. This is my birth certificate. This is my bond. And I'm sorry. I'm mistaken. I didn't come forward. I should have come forward 20-some years, or 30-some. Well,
40.
30 years. Oh my God, 30 years ago. Oh my God, I'm old. Shit.
I know, me too. I'm going, oh wow.
I'm
It's
keeping
over
quiet.
30 years. Oh no. Well, I like that thought.
Well, and let's hold that thought, but I'm going to play devil's advocate here. It's
Okay.
very clear, though, that it's a good old boy system, and they need to protect all aspects of this scam. And they own the courts, they own the jails, they own all of that. What, an attorney friend once told me, oh, yeah, they didn't know about the don't matter rule. And it's not written in any law books, but he says, yeah, those guys, they can show up with all, and this is on another subject, but they can show up with a whole truckload of information that proves they're right. And they are right. But the judge says, yeah, I know about all that. Don't matter. Ruling against you anyway.
Yep. Well, I'll tell you why that is, though. That's because the courts are functioning in a administrative admiralty, first of all.
Well, how do we stop that, though?
Huh?
How do we counteract that? That's the problem.
Okay, well, but that's what I'm saying. That's where knowledge comes in. That's where knowledge comes in. See, they've done a very good job. They've done a very, very good job at focusing our attention elsewhere. They've done an exceptional job at that. And every time we fight these guys in the court, they're just loving it because we're just driving their revenue streams. That's it. That's all we're doing.
Yeah.
And we are. Now we're dealing with facts and truths. What are the facts and truths here? Well, the facts and truths is that we are dealing with a system of codes and statutes that can be shown very easily as being fixed. Okay. Now the question is, we got to draw people's attention to that. And we've got to get people to take a look at that and focus on that. But more importantly, we've got to get the federal government on our side. How do we do that? We do that by making the conversion through Treasury. It's the only place to make the conversion for this because we're dealing with copyright. We're dealing with financial issues. And per the 1790 Copyright Act, statutes at large, we are, in all practical sense, in a business arrangement with Treasury over our copyright. So they are entitled to a certain percentage of our copyright. I'm good with that. Let them have it. I'm cool with that. If I can have the full faith and credit of my federal treasury, hey, I'm great with this because I'm good. I can live my life. I can do quite well. But better yet, I've got the Treasury protecting me because they've got to share my copyright. So now when I make that conversion, I say, you know what? You got trillions of dollars here that have been taken out of the country that without levy. And now that I'm coming in as my whole person, because I'm coming in as my living man, and I'm saying, hey, I'm not buying this accommodating party shit no more. I'm not your accommodating party. Now that word equals the dead person. That word equals a straw man. We have to, and a note on that, we have to kill certain terms.
Yeah, I don't like that one either.
Straw man's got to go. We got to stop using the word. It's archaic. Number one. Number two, it's too tainted. The actions by others that were the wrong actions have made straw man a terroristic term. So we got to get rid of it.
Oh, lovely.
And it's just not the right word. The proper word for it in the present day, the accommodating party. We're the accommodating party for federal public money. that pays out to the states.
That sounds a lot better.
Huh?
That sounds much better.
Yeah. Well, it's got to be, you know.
Relevant.
I appreciate all the history. I do. I appreciate the history, and it's mind-boggling. I read this history. It's like, holy shit! How these guys did this stuff. But you know, at the end of the day, that's not solution-bound. It's not solution-driven, and it really doesn't matter in the present day. I mean, yes, it's rooted in that, but doesn't provide the solution to what we're dealing with here. We want solutions. We want understanding and solutions. And I'm sorry, but you do an ecclesiastical deed and all these things and 14th Amendment type stuff. You know what? They don't care. They don't give a shit about it, pardon my French. They don't care about it because we're dealing with trade and commerce. We're dealing with two issues. Or trade and commerce being one issue, and a stolen identity being the other. Those are the only two things that we're dealing with. So when we go through Treasury, we put ourselves back, what we're doing is we're saying, I'm back on the land. I'm a living person here. And you know all those slices that we talked about my pig, right? Remember my pig I was talking about?
Mm-hmm.
We're saying, I respectfully demand, that all bonds liquidate or they come back to me. They revest back with me for a proper administration because I demand that I be made whole again. So you're making yourself whole. What you're doing is you're coming in and you're saying, I'm calling in all my slices. They're mine. I want them. You have to give them back to me now. And they too have to give them back to you because if they don't, then it's treason on their part. And then they have to function in that capacity. And I'll tell you one thing. Common law is alive and well in Treasury. And it's well documented, well stated within their bylaws and their regulations. Treasury, common law lives. And that's how we do it. So once we do that now we come back in and we say, okay, Mr. Treasury guy, I got 50% of my copyright here. You got the other 50%. You know.
So it's a 50-50 deal?
Huh?
As an accommodating party, it's a 50-50 deal? Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah. Well, no, it's not in that sense. No, it's not. There, it's wide open because you've got the private side. You got the banks and all these criminal bar attorneys that are siphon those insurance policies I was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
They're pulling all these insurance policies in place and valuing us up to millions and millions and millions upon millions of dollars, so that they can steal it once they legally kill us off through the court system, and they find us financially incapacitated. That's our legal death. And then behind our back, you got some little bar attorneys, swine scum, little shit, doing exercise administrative processes for your abandonment of the estate. So now they go in, they raid all those millions of dollars, they take it all, and they cash it all out, and they leave you penniless and awarded estate. And then they come back in, and then they act in an e-government manner to administer us as their incompetence. So see, they've got the whole system sewn up. I mean, it's totally sewn up. There's nothing we can do about it from that side. The only way that we can do something about it is to go into the federal government, get the federal government on our side, but more so, command the federal government what we want them to do.
They're supposed to protect us, aren't they?
That's right. Now you put yourself in this position where they have to protect us. See, I do understand what the other host is saying. I do get that. But they can't. Let me put it this way. The IRS, I know this for a fact, the IRS is chomping at the bit to go after these guys. They know that massive fraud is being committed, but they can't do anything about it. Why? Because we're not making the claims. And we can't make the claims from the outside, meaning from where we stand now, because we're just an incompetent. We're part of this. We rolled over into age of majority, and we didn't make our claim that hey, we're self-governing, we're big boys and girls. We don't need your help. We can govern ourselves.
Well, let me
didn't do that.
Let me ask you this: I filed one of those claims that I was age of majority, and I don't know that it made any difference.
Where'd you file it?
In Georgia.
Doesn't do any good. It's got to be in the federal government. It doesn't do any good in the states. There's no good in the states because the states are autonomous. There's no good in the states. And the states are all actively, the states are independently working together to screw us when they're supposed to be working together for the common good of the nation. They're not.
So where do you have to file it then?
File it Treasury. It has to go in the Treasury. You've got to file it in the right spot so you put yourself back on the land. So now you can command them because now you got copyright issues. Now you say, hey, we're talking about this Merged Nations Bank agreement that was concealed from everybody. that's prima facie evidence. It's prima facie evidence that we are not debtors, that there are separately managed accounts, that there are separately managed trusts, that there are proceeds, that there are insurances, that there's all kinds of shit that they created off of our stolen identity, which they took by incorporation, by reference, without our permission. So it's all rebuttable presumption. So it's basically we got to start rebutting presumption, and we have to start enforcing it. Though, well, how do you enforce it? Well, that's what we're doing. So we're saying, to the IRS, we're saying, hey, I've got all these separately managed accounts out there. I got all these trusts out there. There's prima facie evidence of it, and hey, that's stolen identity. And because they stole my identity, there's millions of dollars sitting out there that was taken off of my stolen identity and my copyright. Well, guess what? They're hurting you as well. They hurt me 50%. They hurt you 50%. And because you're in charge with going after all the monies that are owed the federal government, go get them. Now the IRS has the authority to go get them. We've given them the authority. You see what I'm saying?
Wow. So you have a step-by-step process in order of how to do this? Do we go to Treasury Direct? Is that it, or we?
There's a whole series of things to do. There's a whole series of things to do that we're putting together. That are going to be put up. We're putting a website together that we're going to be talking about all these things. Step by steps. Not we want these things we want to talk about like kind of behind firewalls.
Oh, okay.
Because the reason for that is because you can't mix public and private, right? So. Because what we're doing here, the courts are crooked, and the judges are administrators of royalties. So what they're doing, all those little pig slices you're talking about? What they're doing, they haul your butt in the court, and they're ruling against you. They're allocating royalties to all those little pig slices out there that should be going to you. They're going to them instead.
So they're selling you out while they're paying these crooks, basically.
Exactly, because they get a cut of it.
Of course. It's always all about money. You just follow the money trail, right? And obviously you've done that. And,
I read a very interesting article. It was written back in 2015. It was by the Virginia Law Review. And it's very interesting because they talk about the issues of living, death, and it's just solely, I believe is the term. And that means on the soil. Okay, so that's a constitutional living person. And then there's San Janguias, I can't pronounce it, something of that nature, which means which is the bloodline, okay, which goes all the way back to England. Okay, so there's two different citizenships. Okay, so we are natural born citizens if we were born here and our parents were born here. Okay, so we're natural born citizens. We want citizenship, but what we want to do though is we want to separate. We want to put a barrier or an intermediary between us and our all caps name, which is actually the U.S. citizen. So what we want to do is we've got to kill that power of attorney. These attorneys have killed us every time because they have put themselves in as an intermediary on everything. And that's why we cannot get answers when we demand answers from the court, when we demand answers from an agency, when we demand answers from an arrest request with loan servicers. They all kind of look at us or come back at us and say, nah, we don't have to give you nothing. And they don't. You know why? Because there's a power of attorney between them.
And I think a lot of them probably don't even understand any of this process. It's like, well, no, this is how we do it. Everybody has this.
Yeah.
Right.
You're the only person who isn't the same as everybody else. No, we're doing it this way. And then you're just, you're swimming upstream. So, I can understand what you're saying, but then I find that what I'm hearing is a great deal of difficulty every time you try to interact. You have to explain all this, and hopefully somebody cares, right?
No. No, because what you've got now, when you roll over, when you make that conversion, they work for you now, okay? They work for you.
Alrighty then, I like that.
And they have
but are they doing that?
and so, yes, we have elements of the federal government agencies that are crooked. I don't deny that, okay? But I can tell you for sure, and from people I know, and from my knowledge, and from my research, that there are a lot of good people in these agencies, a lot of very good people that are sick and tired of this stuff. And they're waiting for people like myself and yourself and everybody else to come forward so that they can actually do something. They have to have the authority to act on our behalf. And until we come forward in the proper capacity, then our claims to them are frivolous because they're not in the right capacity. That's the secret. That's the whole secret to everything that's going on here. In what capacity are you coming forward? Are you coming forward as an accommodating party, as an incompetent, or have you made yourself a competent person and made your claim? It's like there's a lot of people out there that are saying to do a so I'm taking my cigarette out here, trying to get a legal name change. Well, you got to go through and get a legal name change. Why?
What good does that do
that?
you? Yeah, I don't understand that either. I do.
Why would I ask somebody's permission to change my name from the all caps name to the lowercase name? Why do I need somebody to tell me who I am? I know who I am. Okay, but you can't. People are trying to do it through the state, and some states have actually done it. But it's going to come back and bite their asses. Other states just laugh at people, say, no, we're not going to do that. But you don't have to do that. When you go through Treasury, when you go to the federal government, you lay that claim down. I am the living man here. I'm the king shit. Okay? I own these assets. This is me. I have all these accounts out there, and here's the beauty of it. The beauty of it now is they can't really argue with us, because if they start arguing with us, then we start laying down, okay, well, here, what does this patent say about Treasury? Treasury does this interaction with Bank of New York. Now, what does it say there about changing legal precedents? What does it say about there? Oops. So now we got proof. We got proof down the line. We can document every single criminal act these people have done. And understand that these patented processes, everything that's happening to us, is done, one, on presumption, and two, it's by fabrication. These patents, they're fabricating financial instruments up. They're fabricating assignments and signatures. They're forging signatures. They've got it's a criminal enterprise. What's taking place here? That's an overlay of the public administrative side commingled with the private banking side that is administered by criminal bar attorneys through uniform acts that are.
Have they ever been held accountable for any of this?
No, but they will. They will, because by going into the federal government, putting ourselves in that capacity, we'll pick up the sword of the federal government. We're going to strike down every one of these SOBs, and they will have to act on it. They will have to act on it. Why? Because you're dealing with federal money that's owed. Who's it owed to? Or who's it owed by? Not by us, by the bar attorneys. By the state officials and judges that have stolen, that have taken federal public money from private persons. That's being us.
That's an exciting concept.
Wow.
Isn't it?
Yes, it is. Let's turn the tables.
Yes. So that's what we're doing. So that's what we're doing here is we're turning the tables on these things. And the way to do that, we really literally have to abandon everything that we thought that was. Okay, and I'm not asking anybody to believe what I say. Don't believe what I say. I'm offering, here's the information. Please look at it. Decide for yourself. And no, it's not easy. It takes an effort to kind of wrap your head around this thing. But I promise anybody that when you begin to get an understanding of what's really taking place here, and understanding the power, the power that we really have, and how easy it really is at the end of the day to seize it back, these guys are done with. There's nothing they can do to stop us. The only thing that they can do is try to prevent us from learning the truth and learning knowledge. And they've successfully done that. They've done a very good job at that.
Well, they throw out so many distractions to people and put you in the wrong direction and...
Yes.
That kind of thing, and so it's hard to, people just really want to know the truth, and
That's right.
We never get the truth, it seems. We're always trying to figure out, well, is this the truth? I don't know. Is that the truth? Well, I don't know.
And you've got a lot of gimmick. You got a lot of gurus out there. I call them gurus.
Yeah.
And you got a lot of people that are good intention. I'm not saying that they're bad intention at all, and please don't take it that way. Nobody take it that way. But a lot of these gurus, they're all wrong because they didn't do their complete research. Like Ammon Bundy. I love Ammon Bundy. I've met with Ammon Bundy. But Ammon Bundy did the wrong. Ammon Bundy screwed up. And all the people that follow Ammon Bundy screwed up. They screwed up because they're attacking the federal government and not realizing that they can work with the federal government if they properly position themselves. You can bring down the BLM if you approach this properly. But from the point that they're going at it, it's belligerent to the federal government. The federal government's going to react, and they have reacted.
Well, there's no excuse for their torturing him, though. I have to say that much. But
no, I'm not. Well, the same thing with murder and Lavoie Finnegan. There's no excuse for any of that. I mean,
that's disgusting. But anyway,
but that doesn't mean the whole agency is corrupt.
Exactly.
Certain factions of it are corrupt.
Exactly.
Doesn't mean everybody is corrupt. Like I said, these agencies are waiting for us to make the claims. The IRS is itching to go after these guys once we give them the claims. The 1099 process. You made a comment on a post I put out last night, Gail, about the 1099s. I was wrong. It wasn't 35 1099s. It's 35 1099, combination of 1099As. I'm sorry, 1099, 1098, 1097, 1096. It's 35 of those.
Oh, okay.
All of those processes, properly executed, exposes all of our hidden assets that were stolen from us.
No, wait,
understand that there's a difference between being a tax protester and filing tax returns. Okay, we all have to file tax returns. Period. I mean, whether we like it or not, we have to do it. It's a good thing here. It really is a good thing because all these bad guys are stealing everything from us. No, they're not paying taxes on it. They took all the tax shelters, but guess what? They've got to file. They got to file. So now that we know what they're filing and the patents and the money-making schemes and the lies and the deception and the forgery and fabrication that lies all behind this and the identity theft, now we could say, hey, now that I put myself in proper standing here, I'm ordering you to give me all the filings and anybody who's ever filed one of these 1099 whatever against the property. Now what happens? Now we've exposed them. Now we say, Mr. Treasury, convert all those to bonds, to stocks, or however I decide to administer it, and Mr. IRS, go get them.
Is that based on the Social Security number then?
No.
No.
Well,
okay,
the Social Security number is based on Social Security number is rude. Social Security is the hindrance to all of this. Social Security is the kind of jump-off point between a spittance of benefits and our complete birthright benefits.
Thank you. It is a spittance.
So in other words, put it differently, if we're talking, say, 100% benefits here, I mean, I don't want to say anything the word benefits. Let's talk birthright citizenship, and birthright, right, and the corporate of the corporation, and let's also admit something else. This is something else we got to properly define. The United States is a corporation. Yes, deal with it. Like it, deal with it. It's the way it is. I mean, in order to function in the world, there has to be accounting. There has to be a means of business. So yes, the government functions as corporations, and there's all kinds of corporations underneath it. Deal with it. I don't understand why people don't deal with it. Deal with it. You know why? Because guess what? You're a stockholder of that corporation if you properly claim it.
Well, it's because people feel this way because what happens is they get buried. Like your average senior citizen, what do they get? Maybe $12,000 a year, and then all these agencies are coming after them to pay this, pay that, pay that.
Yes,
this
you know
fee,
why?
that
You know why? Because they're all going after this spendthrift birth trust. That's what they're going after. They want to bleed these bar attorneys. They don't give a crap about the living people. They have no soul. They have nothing inside them. It's all about bleeding that spendthrift trust. It's all about getting the interest off of that and having somebody to stick with the debt. Well, who's the debt? The debt on all these, for everything that they come after us on, that they think, oh, they keep coming after us, they keep coming after us. They keep coming after us because they can label it and do a little tick mark on the debtor side of the books so that they can clear out the credits so they could do a billing on it.
Oh my
and they're
God.
getting away with
it's just like most people don't realize that, in behind closed doors, we have the attorneys and the judges with bid bonds, performance bonds, and payment bonds, and whoever hears about that. And that's all going into their pockets. And
That's right.
Nobody sees that.
It's all a rigged game. It's all a rigged game. So, well, how do you overcome a rigged game? You learn the game, right? That's all you do. All you got to do is learn how to play the game. Now, some people will say, I don't want to do that. That's evil. Then we become one of them. No, you don't become one of them. Stop and think, people. Step back out of yourselves and think. It's not the government itself or the system itself that's evil. It's the people that run it, the people that have set themselves up in positions to run it. That doesn't mean that it's always going to be bad. If for every one of us that evicts one of these bad guys and puts ourselves where we probably belong, then it becomes our choice whether we're going to be good or bad. Does it not? That's how we change the system.
Well, we need all the good people to make their claim so we can change things for the better.
It's not the system that's fixed, it's the people that run it. So we got to evict the people that run it and put good people in it. And we have the capacity, we have the right, the lawful right, and we have the power to do so.
That is certainly a very different perspective, and I rather like it. Because it would be nice to see things change with the right kind of people. I mean, we're
your partner's quiet there. I hear his brain going.
It is. It's churning.
I hear the devil's advocate going. I'm waiting for it to rev up.
Now, let me ask you: have you already done this, and how many times, and how much success have you had with this approach?
I'm two steps away from getting where I want to be, where I need to be. I can't go into details about, because, like I said, these are things you can't talk about on public channels.
Right.
But I will tell you that it's going to succeed every single time. And the reason for it is because I've done all the research. I studied the patents. I know exactly how the system works. I know how the Treasury works. I know how everything flows through, how the system of monies, which isn't money anyhow, all it is derived credit, and throwing toilet paper into a hole and coming back as a credit, basically. I know how all that works, okay? And I know that we are bona fide stockholders or bondholders, depending on what position we put in. So I know for a fact that when we make a claim, they are properly positioned, that they can't turn us away. Sure, there's going to be some people out there who are going to give us a hard time, maybe say, we're not going to, try to dick us around a little bit. But overall, we're going to overrun them because they have no authority not to yield to our authority. So that's the beauty of this. The beauty of it is there's no secrets, okay?
Whoa.
What happened there?
The man in the background.
Here's the devil advocate again, though. They're the ones behind the desk, behind the counter that you're filing this stuff with, and they just say, no. Then what?
They can't. They're going to. Then you're going to bring them down. Then you can come back.
How are you going to do that, though? Then you end up in the court.
Now you can come back in the federal court, Article 3 court, and bring them down on their oaths and bonds. Number one, and you can go after them in a regular court too, in a commercial sense, maritime sense, and take everything they own. Because now they bear all liability.
Wasn't Leroy Schweitzer doing something like that about 20 years ago?
I'm not familiar who that is.
He was a fellow out in Montana that was was perfecting liens under UCC and actually seizing all these criminals' properties and all. But then that was just prior to the first, what was it called, Anti-Terrorist Act or something with, it was right after McVeigh, then they passed that first law. And that kind of closed the door on him from, that was a long time ago, and I was reading up on that way back when.
Well, we don't want to do liens on people. We don't want to start filing liens on judges or anything of that nature. We don't have to do that because that's belligerent. We don't want to we don't want to lash out. We're not state nationals. We're American nationals, and we got to understand that we're in international maritime, and that's his administration. And under international law, state nationals are belligerent, sometimes terrorists. American nationals, foreign nationals are not. And there's a big, huge difference there.
Explain that.
Well,
if you would. It confuses people.
We're as born on the soil. Mm-hmm. We're born on the soil of a nation, within a state, within the state's borders. Every state is autonomous in and of itself, but acts as a collection of states that make up a union and make up a nation. Mm-hmm. And so we're state national, but in a broader sense, we're an American national because it's these collections of states. So when we make that conversion, through Treasury and make the conversion where we actually put ourselves, where we claim our life or claim ourselves on the soil, which puts us in a, which takes away our subserviency. Because if you think about what's really happening here, is it's our U.S. citizen, our all caps name that is driving everything here, which is a fiction. But of course, we're sticking on a live person because they have somebody to bear the obligation, right?
Exactly. That's what's
so what
happening.
You're doing
is burying people too.
Right. So what you're doing is you're saying, hey, I am no longer subservient as an accommodating party. I'm coming forward as a living man, as a transmitting utility, as the person born on the soil, as a state national, as American national, and now I'm an associate of the corporation. So I'm a national association. I'm thus private because I'm a living person. I'm thus a private bank, and that's exactly what you are. Your all caps name is a private financial institution.
Wow.
And you, me, Kenneth hyphen William Colon Dost, all lowercase, is the master account holder, the holder in due course, the executor, the sole beneficiary with all right, title, and interest to the estate / trust / financial institution, Kenneth William Dost, all caps. That's what we are.
Wow. And they stole it all from us.
They stole it all from us. And so what you're doing here is you're making a claim, and you're not asking anybody's permission. You're not saying, hello, can I have your permission to change my name, Judge? We're not doing any of that. We're just going in and we're making a claim. This is who I am. Prove me wrong otherwise. Pinch me.
Why would you ask permission?
Yeah,
why would you ask permission unless you don't own it already?
Exactly. And why does a person who has something stolen from him have to ask permission to get it back? Or ask permission to say it's mine? No, it's mine. It was stolen from me. He stole it from me. Why would I go to ask permission to the guy who stole it from me to go to somebody else to say, hello, that guy stole something from me, give it back? Makes no sense.
Right.
Right. No.
And are we not supposed to be, as Americans, as United States citizens, United States, as Americans, what is it that we want? What do our founding fathers want?
Freedom.
Leave
me alone.
And the right to what? And the right to self-govern ourselves, right?
Yes.
Well, how can I be self-governed if I'm asking somebody's permission to tell me who I am?
Yeah, that goes into even property ownership these days. At least we still have a colonial ownership of pencils and hats and that sort of thing. But,
Wow.
even people, I paid cash for my place. Oh, really? That's great.
Then how come you pay tax on it?
Exactly, yeah. Oh, I own it outright. I hear that. Oh, so I mean you just don't pay much rent. Well, what do you mean pay rent? I said, well, try not paying your property taxes. See how long you stay there.
Right. Well, yes. Well, here's the thing about land. Here's the thing about copyright. And if there's the number one takeaway from the time I've spent with you, I think this would be what I would kind of like people to hash out and think about, because this is very important. We're dealing with copyright. And now when we deal with a mortgage, we're not dealing with a mortgage of real property. That's a fallacy. There is a mortgage, but it's a mortgage in copyright. Now, here's the beautiful thing about copyright and the way that copyright functions, and this is by the operation of law. What they've done is they've never taken the title away from us. They just simply have put a cloud on it and made us look like we're renters. So they make it look like they took it away from us, but they really haven't. What they've done is they put a system of licensing in place so that they can transfer the license to person, so that they can show us to have dominion over us, to have their control over us. But the title, though, never transfers. It's quiet down there. You know why? Because we're not dealing with the title of real property. We're not dealing with the title of a car. We're dealing with an unregistered title of our copyright that was never recorded, our birthright, our birth certificate, which was never recorded in the U.S. Copyright Office. It was recorded everywhere else, but not there. So they can't transfer the title, because if they transfer the title, then their game is lost, and they have no control over us. So, by the operation of law under copyright, all you really have to do is claim your copyright and terminate all licenses. And then by the operation of law, all title transfers back to the claimed owner. done. You're done. It's that simple, really. Now you just got to enforce it, and the enforcement of that, of course, comes through when you go through into the federal government. Now you got full enforcement. So to illustrate in a land transaction, for instance, if you pull out your title and you look down your title, and if you're tenants by the entirety or tenants in the common, you'll see your name listed as, like in my case, it would be Kenneth W. Dost, lowercase. But then you'll see the grantor will be all caps, Kenneth William Dost. So what have I effectively done by what I just described with the copyright? I've taken all title, haven't I? And I perfected it.
Because the lowercase is the living and the all cap is the...
Is the fiction. So what I've done by removing all licenses and by claiming the common law copyright and holding in due course to the all caps name, what have I done? I've just perfected my title. Think about that. Think about that. It's very, 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 very powerful. Extremely powerful. Now, it doesn't do any good in the state. That doesn't do anything. You have to do this. You have to make this claim in the federal. Why? Because the states are crooked.
I'll say.
The states don't want those licenses removed, and that's where the state and federal government is at odds when it comes to copyright. Now, we've got to give the federal government reason to come in and thump down the states. Okay, we're not giving them reason because we don't have the standing. And what I mean when we talk about standing, what do we mean by standing? What I mean by standing is we don't have the authority because we're just a bunch of incompetent, accommodating parties. We haven't come in and we haven't killed off our subservient. Or not, that's the wrong word. We haven't sent our subservient, which is our all caps name, our accommodating party, to the back of the bus and put us up out in front. We haven't done that. So the federal government can't do anything. But once we kind of push our subservient, our little children, back behind us, and we take control of our children, now they can do something. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense?
Yeah. So we told people before you got on, you might be hearing a lot of hmms and wows and reallys.
And we're the ones doing it. Yeah.
Well, listen, this isn't complicated stuff. It really isn't. Mm-hmm. When you get down to the end of the day, everything's simple. Everything has to fall into a logical pattern. It has to. Okay? There has to be a logic behind it. Now, even all the shit that's going on. Do you know what the logic is? No, you don't. You don't. Nobody else does either because they're bouncing like a fart in a bottle or a Mexican dumping bean, bouncing back and forth trying to track down things that they can't find. That's exactly what they want us to do.
Never heard of fart in a bottle before. That's a good one.
My mother called me that all the time. She goes, "God, you're just a fart in a bottle. Settle down."
I used to be accused of being ornery and two snakes in a barrel.
That's a good one.
Well, I'm surrounded with here.
That's a good one. But I mean, these are things that we can do something about this. We really can. And they can't stop. I understand your concern. I do. I hear what you're saying. And it's not to say that they're not going to try stopping some of us, but they're not going to. But at the end of the day, they're going to get overrun.
Right. Well, of course they're going to try and stop it because it'll rattle their whole scheme, and it's been working so well for so long. And here's also an analogy that I use because I've talked to not on this particular topic, but a lot of people at length on a lot of this subject matter. And I said, an analogy that I've kind of come up with is, well, you're a slave master, and one of the slaves figures out, hey, you don't own me. This paperwork here isn't right. And, there's nothing you can do. I'm legal. I'm walking out the door. And what's the slave master going to do? He's going to say, Toby, get back here. I'm whipping you. So even because I don't need any of the rest of these figuring out that they got the same paperwork you do. Because I'm going to put the whip on your back. And they're not even going to want to look at that paperwork. So you just get back to picking cotton, boy.
Okay, but who's okay? But remember, there's always somebody above somebody else. And so that person that slave master that's throwing that whip, he's got somebody in higher authority than him. And who's that? That's us. But
then we come into force.
The person that puts us there, though, is the federal government that puts us over that person. Because the federal government has to protect us in our constitutional selves. They have to. They have no right. They have to. And there always has to be a remedy. And they always have to provide a remedy, period. There has to be a remedy, and this is the remedy. And when you deal with copyright issues, there's nothing they can do about it. There's nothing because that's the bottom of the basement at that point. And think about this, and also think about it this way. think about it this way. When you start doing it this way, when we start going at it from a fact and truth point of view, a lot of these people that are against us, that think we're deadbeats, liars, and cheats, they're going to start scratching their head, and they're going to say, wait a second here. If they're getting screwed like that, wait a minute, that's happening to me, too.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
Now, let me ask you something. Are you willing, and you have your, wrong question. Let's just say, are you prepared to end up in the Supreme Court? And especially with the Supreme Court that we're looking at today and possibly even better in the future, you might get a positive ruling there. Are you prepared to go that far? Because it might take that.
I would like to stay out of the court. And I'll tell you, this paper that I was talking about earlier, very interesting because it was from 2015, and it came about and talked about the Supreme Court issues. And the Supreme Court does recognize that on the soil and bloodline, the two types of citizenship do actually exist. They don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole.
No.
None of the judiciary wants to touch it with a 10-foot pole. Why? Because it's so damn explosive. They can't make a ruling on it because we're dealing with the constitutional issues and the person on the soil and land and all, and the framers, the foundation of the framers. And also, it's a legislative issue that goes through Congress, and they would just like to keep it that way. Why? Because they would like to keep it as a private system of settlement and remedy.
Well, the
because
system,
it's so damn explosive.
Yeah, they have the system
will never
working.
take a case like this.
For them.
They'll never touch it.
The system's working for them, and they don't want to see it collapse. And for them to have a positive ruling on your behalf, then
well, here's the thing: they can't make a ruling on it either because there's a conflict of interest. Because it was found and determined that even the Supreme Court pays taxes, and they pay land taxes too, and property taxes. So they can't rule on it because it's biased.
Yeah.
Oh, my. Well, and I know I've always heard people say, "Oh, the Constitution, it doesn't apply to you." How would you address
it? It doesn't right now because we're not in that position.
Yeah, the capital name it
because
doesn't apply
because you haven't claimed.
Right. See, here, the big issue here is it really is. It's that power of attorney. It's that person that invisible person that is representing that's pulling the strings between our all caps name and our living person.
Is that durable power of attorney that people talk about?
Well, no, that's the durable power of attorney we want. We want to fire all powers of attorney. But we can't do a blanket powers and power of attorney. We got to do it. It's got to be specific to the hub and certain agencies, and we've got to insert ourselves as the attorney. In fact, so now what we've done is we've insulated ourselves between our living person, our living man, living woman, and our all caps name. So now we got insulation between it. See, what they've done is these intermediaries that are there now, these power attorneys, slime, scum,
bags, scumbaggery.
they're pulling the strings so they keep us together because they want to take off with all their profits on the private side, but they've got to stick the debt onto somebody. Let's go stick it on this foolish incompetent right there, and let's do that. So it's this hidden. It's this hidden intermediary that's operating between. So we got to fire that son of a bitch. We got to fire him, fire his ass, and put ourselves in there. And how do we do that? We go and we make the claim. But we don't do it in state because the state ignores us. We do it in federal. You're fired. You're fired. You have done nothing but destroy me. You've fixed the system. You've harmed me. You've stolen from me. You committed treason against me. You're fired. Get the hell out of here. I'm the one that's in the place now, and I demand that I get restitution. And you do it with authority. I mean, you do it respectfully, obviously, but
yes.
You do it with authority. Because, hey, and I see this all the time in patents. This is one of the things that I learned with patents, that the term that kept coming up, it keeps coming up, is a system of self-authentication. Okay, well, if you're going to ask somebody's permission for something, that's not really self-authenticating yourself, is it?
No, it certainly is not.
No, it's not. So self-authentication is basically saying, this is who I am. Prove me wrong.
And we start with the Treasury or with the IRS, or?
Well, we start with Treasury, and like I said, we've got the website that we're putting together is going to detail this stuff out in great detail, so that people can understand. What I would like to see happen, I want to see a movement happen, and I believe we can get a good movement happen that really helps the whole world here, because these are big issues. It's a huge issue, and the beauty of this thing is that we can do something about it by having a proper understanding of the facts and truths. So that's what we're putting together. That's going to lay all this stuff out so that people can learn it and act upon it accordingly. What I don't want to see happen is I don't want to see people doing half-assed, half-cocked things. Like, if you just said, well, how do you begin? Just put a file into Treasury? Yeah, but there's other things that go with it. And I'd like people to know what those things are before they start executing these things, because the last thing we want to do is give a loaded gun to a 2-year-old.
Yes, definitely. Well, I certainly agree with you on that. It's just it's so amazing to me. We've been lied to in every area of our life, whether it be in health care, or education, anywhere. You just name it, and I can tell you some lies in it. So
yes, they've done it very brilliantly too, because you've got a lot of people. You got a lot of these county workers and these state workers that are mindless idiots. And really, what they're doing is they have a book that says this is what you got to do, and you're going to do it if you want your job. So they're mindlessly passing data through, and that's exactly what we're talking about. All we're talking about is the passing of data, because everything is derived on data. And so what we have here is we have a federal system, and they know it. They know it's crooked as hell, and they're trying to do something about it. But again, nobody's bringing forward the claims. We have a system of information that's in place that is terrible. The information quality stinks. Why does it stink? It stinks because it's incomplete. It's fixed. The certifications and authorizations are forged and fabricated by bar attorneys on presumptions that we never agreed to.
Well, you acquiesce with your silence. You're ignorant to
what's
to
really
the facts,
going on.
so it's going on. So you don't step up. So okay, that's estoppel by acquiescence, and they've got you.
Well, guess what? They don't have us anymore, because now we can break it wide open, and it's easy to break wide open. It's like, oh, well, wait a second here. What do you mean I haven't? What do you mean under ordinary circumstances I should have uncovered this? How can I uncover something when you've done meaning the bar and all these criminals, when you've done everything possible to facilitate your lie?
Well, look at the books. Look at the books they use. Well, when you want to keep something secret, what do? You put it in code, don't you? So now we've got the vehicle code, we've got the penal code, we've got all these code books that you need someone who speaks legalese, that code, to be able to interpret it for you, and they work for the enemy.
But it's worse than that. It's a computer code now. It's a mind box. Yeah. It's a mind box code.
No, it's really complicated.
Yes, it's a mind box code, and all of a sudden you're operating on now. So that's what I'm saying. All the people, everything that people are doing with the defining of words and saying, in the sense that we're doing it now is great and wonderful, but it's kind of ineffective, because that doesn't matter for a hill of beans, because what we're dealing with is computer codes, a whole different system.
Well,
totally different.
What about this? I noticed something on your site about CoreLogic and, what was it, Black Knight or something like that? Could you?
CoreLogic is an information provider. CoreLogic gathers information and data that's on us. It's our personal information that they sell in customer lists to Goldman Sachs, to J.P. Morgan Chase, to Bank of America, or anybody who has a financial scheme or a collection scheme that wants to screw with us and make money, that they will sell to. And so CoreLogic is a function. CoreLogic is actually a subsidiary of First American Title.
Well, isn't that special?
Isn't that special? Yes. CoreLogic. Now, if I could wave my magic wand and I had 1,000 people in front of me, and we had a movement going, and we had some momentum going, my number one target would be CoreLogic, because their information quality stinks. It's incomplete. It's fixed. It's financed by the banks, so of course there's conflicts of interest, and of course it's fixed. And they're the ones that are manipulating the information that has defamed our character, because by and large, none of us are bad people. None of us are bad creditors. We were forced into being a debtor. We were forced into bad debt. We were forced into default because of their actions, by missing a payment, or by getting us to sign an agreement into which there were all kinds of underlying agreements that we never knew were in place that screwed us. So the information that the CoreLogic houses and that they sell and they interact with the federal government, with Department of Transportation and American driving records, because they have all that stuff, is being administered by these e-government positions, and CoreLogic is one of them. That's the public side. Black Knight, on the other hand, is the private side. they're the ones that are building up.
I just knew they were nefarious, both of them, just by looking at it. Go on, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, they're the ones that are building up all the private side, all the annuities, all of the. They're the ones that are stealing the trillions of dollars or the trillions of valued credits, put it that way, out of us. And see, as I see it, and I'm a pragmatist. I'm pragmatic. I'm a realist too. And some people say, "Oh, you're never going to be able to bring these people down." Bullshit. All you got to do is expose their information. Their information's all out there. Everything, all the nefarious agreements that they put us into that we had no idea, no knowledge of. It's all recorded under trademarks. First American title. It says right in there. They're going to take all our that we agreed to giving them all rights and title interest to our common law copyrights, trademarks, and trade names, and that we exist for legal representatives. We exist for the pleasure and profits of legal representatives and their associates. It literally says that.
Where is this written?
This is written in copyright. Trademark. It's written as under one of American First American titles copyrights.
Oh,
that's specific.
My God!
Not copyrights. I'm sorry. Title. Trademark. Underneath, I forgot which trademark it is. It's one of First American titles trademarks. And so what they've done here, is they've stolen our common law copyright through works for hire, which is Fannie Mae agreements and so on and so forth. So now they become basically employees of the federal government, and they're our employer. But then again, it's our common law copyrights. They've taken those common law copyrights, which of course, remember, they're unregistered, right? Because birth certificates were never registered with U.S. Copyright. They're registered everywhere else, but they're not registered with the Copyright Office. So they're unregistered. And they've taken those unregistered copyrights, put them underneath their trademarked products in unregistered pools, and selling those pools into securitized transactions. That's what they're doing. So to bring these sons of bitches down, how do you do it? Hey, look at this information. What does it say here? You explain this to me. What do you mean I gave you my common law copyright, you son of a bitch? I never gave you nothing. Imagine Mr. Ossifer and all these boots on the ground people that think we're bad and think we're bucking authority. Imagine if you put that in front of their face and they go home at night and they're sitting there looking at their wife and kids and they're thinking, holy shit, they did this to me too. Now all of a sudden starts consolidating people together. Now you got a movement. Now you bring these people down.
There you go. Yeah, the more people that
Now,
know, the better.
Is that idealistic? Maybe. I don't think it is. I think it's very doable.
Well, that's what it's going to take, because people have been trying onesie-twosies to do similar things for many, many years. But
nobody's done it on a basis of complete fact, though. That's the problem.
Well, but my point is, though, if you try to do it by yourself, well, it's real easy for them to put the whip on your back. But if all the slaves stand up, but maybe two, it's pretty hard for them. Now the slaves are outnumbering the masters, and it's pretty hard for them to say, you're not leaving the plantation.
Right. Well, if you buy it at just 1% that's controlled in the world, 99% that's owned by the 1%. Shit, all you need is 2%?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
2% at 99%, and they're done with. And you know what? At the end of the day, what makes us beautiful and what makes me so confident and I guess kind of cocky about it too, that we can actually do this, is the fact that it is so damn blatant. I mean, it literally is blatant. It's literally making things up as they went along. And it's literally saying, we're going to take this from you, and you're not going to, and we're presuming, it's all presumption, of course, and it's referred to this in documents, in their contracts, in their agreements that are publicly hidden out of sight. It clearly states to you that we have all right to come in and take everything back. So it's in their contracts, too. Of course, they're preventing us from doing it. Why? Because we're not making the proper claim in the proper place. We're pounding our heads against the wall in a crooked court on a system of justice that we think that's codes and statutes instead of going right to the...
As if they really care, even I know people trying to separate the living man from the entity.
Right.
It doesn't seem like it works.
Yeah, we know about that. Don't matter.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So it's going about it in the right capacity, in the right place. And then they can't stop us. I mean, it's real hard. If I'm sitting man to man with the bar attorney and I start doing it on trademarks and say, explain that to me. When did I give? I don't exist for your pleasure. I don't give a shit about you. When did I give you that authority? I never gave you that authority, you swine ball. Imagine if everybody started doing that. Imagine if everybody started doing it in the proper place. Through Treasury, through the IRS, through the SEC, through the Customs and Border Protection, through FINRA.
Can you imagine if enough benevolent people were able to figure this out, follow this strategy, and change the paradigm to something?
That's why we're doing this site. That's why we're getting off of Facebook, and I'm working with people that are very proficient in web development and site development, who are working with me and working together to bring all this stuff forward in a presentable fashion. That's not Facebook. That people can follow from link to link to link to link, so people can educate themselves. And it quite literally, it really is. It's quite literally a re-education. It's a deprogramming. I hate to say it, but we're a cult, and we've got to deprogram ourselves. I'm not expecting everybody to know all the ins and outs of this stuff. I mean, that's ludicrous. It's taken me 10 years to learn all this stuff. I don't want people to take 10 years. I want to give it to them in the condensed version. So that's the point of this. Because, yes, we can do something about this. We can do it. It's just going to take a number of people. And I think we have enough of people in this country, in this world, that are fed up with everything that's going on. They're tired of getting
I know I am.
down.
Yeah, I've been fed up since I was a teenager.
Right.
I've been
Exactly.
working since I was a teenager.
Exactly. Well, and the thing is, what happens? You push people too far. A lot of people will crumble and they give up. But there's going to be people that like myself that won't give up. And there's a lot of me out there. There's a lot of me and yous out there. And by harnessing those people, and that's going to start spreading. So it's planting the seed and spreading it forward.
That's wonderful. It's they relentlessly pound on you, and you have to get back up, pull yourself up by the bootstraps, and get back in the
In the meantime, I've seen them steal everything somebody's got in the process,
Exactly,
and you're just
exactly.
watching people.
I've
it's
had
like,
that happen to
This
me.
is a great fight you're in, but it's.
Why don't you just give it up?
Yeah, what about
the
life?
attitude,
It's learn, like you said before, learn to play the game.
Yes.
But this is really interesting. When is the website going to be up? Do you have a timeline on that?
I'm hoping I was hoping it's going to be up by now, but it's really going to be another week or so. It's taken me a few weeks to just load up 10 years of data into the background.
You've been studying this for 10 years, haven't you?
I've got more documents, more evidence, more diagrams that properly presented. I can educate this stuff very, very, very effectively. But now what we've got to do is we've got to start. They've got to start putting the graphics together on it, and I got to come in and start putting some text in on it to tie it together. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to shoot a bunch of 5-minute video vignettes, so that it's easier for people to tie things together. I don't want to read a whole patent to everybody, and I don't really expect people to take the time to read a bunch of patents because patents are boring.
Yeah, I would think they would be.
but at the same time, though, they become very interesting when you start understanding how things are fixed, and you want to kind of read it, and then you start reading it. That's how son of bitches did it.
yeah, I suppose. I mean, there are especially certain sections of it or whatever that really stand out.
Right. So, but the point is to just do little 5-minute things and say, okay, this is why this patent's important. It connects to these trademarks and this copyright because of this, and this is how it's affected you, and this is why we're taking this and putting it together and to go forward and do all these things. So it's going to be a couple more weeks yet. I wish it would be faster, but it's probably going to be a couple more weeks. But it's going to be a kick-ass site.
Well, I certainly want to be informed about it, Ken, and I'd like to have you on again after it comes up, and we can...
Can you give us that website?
It's not
up yet. Absolutely, yeah.
You got the domain name already, right?
I'll be screaming. I don't know I don't know about any of that stuff. That's not my forte.
I don't either.
I'll get that. I'm operating on it now. But it's just really the back door of it to get all the data and stuff loaded in.
So you don't know what it's going to be when it goes up yet. You don't.
No, I mean we haven't even decided on a name yet. We still got to decide on a name.
Oh, okay.
So we got those things to do. I mean the important thing right now is you're getting all the data in, and the data is about just all input. So it is going to be another week or so, and I'll be screaming from the rooftops, believe me, when it's up, because I want people to come to this. I want people to educate themselves. I think that, and something. Here's the thing. I know a lot of people out there that complain all the time about getting harassed by government, by police, and I mean, if anybody's been getting harassed, it should be me.
Yeah.
Nobody. They leave me alone.
Wow. Well, I wish I could get to that point. I'm working on it, though.
And I always say this. I never, just in case, that I never have, or I never will ever commit suicide. Or I've ever thought of it. So just in case, that's my disclosure.
Yeah, exactly.
So. Same here. Me either.
Yeah, me either. But I'm playing the game, so.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm excited about this because I think that we've got. I know that, and I'm speaking probably with. And I don't mean this with arrogance or cockiness, and I don't mean that in that respect at all. I come from this as a point of knowledge that I've done my research, and I've done it very, very well.
You can tell.
And it's very complete. So I'm very confident, and I'm very confident in the people that I talk with, and the anger that's out there, and the drive that people really have to want to understand these things, to be confident that, yeah, I think we can do something about this. I think that we can be very effective, and I think we can start a movement here. I mean, we might even put out coffee mugs and hats and stuff. I don't know.
Sure, why not?
But it really is. I mean, this is something that, and I'm not going to speak from a illusion or anything. This is something that's very huge. Yeah. I mean, when you begin to understand what we're dealing with here, the base element of this is really your identity and how they manipulate it. And this is exactly how they've done it. And the fact that they can't go anywhere else with this. There's nothing else they can do. This is the bottom floor basement. When you come to that realization, and you also realize that it's this theft of that and the systems behind which are operating this thing and driving this thing, to which all their agreements are in place. It tells exactly what they've done. It's a very powerful thing, and this is something that, I mean, the whole globe has been affected by all these crimes over the past decade. I mean, this is directly affected. This is the shit that drives CPS, children taking children away. This drives the prison system. I mean, this drives every wrongful act that's taken place is on the basis of this copyright. So, I mean, that's how powerful this is. It's a very powerful thing that we're dealing with here, and I think that we can really, if we can harness this properly, we can do a lot of good. We can spread this thing forward, and things can change.
Now,
and like I said, you don't need a whole population for it. You just need a certain percentage.
Right. This is the same thing, but more overtly. I think what they did to the Hawaiians, right? They used they created the fictitious name that they didn't recognize, and then they worked on an abandonment issue and took all their land.
Yep. Well, this is blackacre too. This goes back to Civil War. There's two types of blackacre. There's the blackacre that the bar attorneys have fun and games with in their law schools as scenarios, which steal the estate. But then there's the blackacre that's much more devious, and that was has to do with Reconstruction. And when freed slaves were given property that was cut up by the federal government of these plantation owners and given that property. So for the plantation owners to get that property back, what they did is they devised contracts and lured these freed slaves who were totally incompetent and couldn't read any of these contracts, had no understanding of these contracts, lured them into putting their mark on these contracts so they could steal it all back.
Oh,
and so that's exactly what's happening right now. They've lured people into contracts that they don't understand because 90% of the contract's not even there, and to come back and take back all the properties. It's blackacre. We're in a crisis period. It's called blackacre.
Yeah. Well, they did it. They tend to try one thing and they go, oh, well, this worked pretty good. Let's tweak this a little better and perfect it, and then we'll do another thing. And
see, the reason they tweaked it so good that they got so many different schemes going on. But it was like blackacre as far as insofar as the scenarios that they play in law school. Now they've expanded it. Now there's a green acre, a pink acre, a black acre, a yellow acre. There's all different kind of acres. These are all scenarios that are played in the virtual world, which is exactly what's going on. Because remember, there never is a present-day transaction. It's a future transaction. So it's kind of like, well, what if that person defaults? Okay, what if that person doesn't pay? What if that person does pay? So it's all based on scenarios, all virtual world scenarios that they control.
I remember one last question, Ken, and we're going to have to wrap it up. And when we talked before, you had mentioned something about there being even harder on women. Could you address that, what you mean by that?
Yes, going back to the San Gianagrius, or a word I can't pronounce. I'm not good with Latin. I think that's Latin. Going back to bloodline and going back to property. all property is common law of English estates. And under the common law of English estates, it is assumed that, of course, the husband passes first, and thereby the wife, with the wife as a survivor, and under common law of English estates, which we're under, the wife has survivorship rights until the day she passes to stay in the property. So what they're doing, and so thereby the wife becomes the insurance policy and the annuities and everything. So women become greatly targeted and greatly used by these scumbuckets to further accrue insurance policies and build value in those insurance policies so that they can, yank it right away. So the women are getting severely abused, much more so than the men in all these matters. And I tell you, I see is probably, of all the people I deal with, probably I would say it's mostly women that I talk to and I deal with on these matters, because it's the women that are fighting these things, because it's the women that are being directly attacked by these vicious cycles. And all it has to do with that. It has to do with insurance and survivorship.
Wow. What a world we live in.
Could go on all
what
day.
A crazy world, yeah. I really hate to cut it off, but I think we have to, we have another show coming up, and so we're going to have to, go. So.
Well, I appreciate having me on. Thank you. Yes, I would love to come on again. And next time I come out, I'd like to bring my cohort John on with me, and maybe a couple other of my people once we get the site going.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Ken, and we will. Let's stay in touch, and we'll have you back on when you get your site back up, or not back
Fantastic.
up, but up.
Yeah.
Back up, yeah.
Yeah.
Back up.
Yeah, up, exactly. That didn't come out right. Sorry about that. So anyway, thank you so much for sharing this awesome information, and we'll hope to talk to you again, and I hope the listening audience found this very interesting. I certainly did, didn't you?
Yeah, I sure did. I was introduced to him. Ken, I'm Glenn, or Dr. Glenn.
Okay, Glenn. Yes, I was wondering your name was. Hi, Glenn. Pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, I thought I told you on the Facebook, but maybe I didn't.
Oh.
I don't know.
I might have missed it. Sorry.
Okay.
Anyhow, hi, Glenn.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah. Well, you have a beautiful day, Ken, and thank you again so much.
Thank you.
Thanks. You guys do too. Thank you much.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
And this is Gail of Gaia, and signing off for today, and thank you so much. Please come back next week and listen again.
The opinions, views, and conclusions expressed in this show are those of the show host and co-host and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of KPFV FM or its affiliates.
You're listening to 98.1 FM, KPFV LP, Perumps Freedom Radio.